They don't put in extra work. They don't go above and beyond to hone their skills, improve their game. This is a club. This is a get-together. This is a player meet and greet. This is a hangout, and the WNBA is just where they choose to hang out. And the NBA and the owners within the league, they're funding this hangout.
The WNBA is about to be demolished entirely, but it's not due to dwindling viewership or poor ratings. It's due to one startling figure, $220,000. In a brand new, upstart league, that is the average compensation that players receive for working for only 8 weeks. The biggest star in the WNBA, the woman who is bringing the sport back to life on her own, is making only $78,000 per season. This argument goes beyond pay. The revolt is open. The worst thing about the WNBA is that its own best players are spearheading the revolution, revealing a sinister secret the league has kept for almost 30 years.
Can you feel it? Can you feel the panic reverberating throughout the WNBA dump? WNBA players think they have leverage. Key word, think. Now, in their defense, they do have leverage in the short term.
Caitlin Clark was given to the WNBA as a miracle. She was more than just another gifted rookie. For a league that was lacking in relevance, she was a living, talking stimulation package and a cultural phenomenon. The impact of Caitlin Clark was profound and swift. Teams were forced to relocate games to larger NBA venues in order to meet the demand as arenas that usually drew small crowds started to sell out. The highest number of viewers for a WNBA game in more than 20 years was 2.1 million for her first game. Within hours, sales records were broken as merchandise flew off the shelves. By herself, she turned women's basketball into the most popular sport, bringing in millions of dollars.
Now, I don't know what to believe from financials, but they got a lot of money backing them from TNT Sports and a lot of investors. And word has it that they came within $10 million of breaking even their first season. That's damn sight a lot. That's damn sight a lot better than the WNBA's done.
What did she receive in exchange for this incredible franchise-saving contribution? A rookie deal that is only worth $78,000. For comparison, many G League players who sit out games in the NBA's developmental league earn more than that. In most American cities, that pay hardly amounts to middle class. The math feels like a typo because it is so offensive and completely unrelated to the value she offers. This one paycheck wasn't merely a meager sum. It turned into a stark representation of a seriously flawed system. A system that views its greatest resources as labor to be obtained at the lowest feasible cost, rather than as collaborators in growth.
Unrivaled will forever change the WNBA.
For sure.
And the way that they do business, the way that they treat their players, any agreement going forward. Unrivaled did things that were unprecedented. And I think it showed players their value, and players in that upcoming CBA are going to ask for everything. And I think that they're going to have to make something work if they want to see the product on TV, right?
Although the issue was made public by Caitlin Clark's pay, the players' dissatisfaction had been smoldering for years. The inability to find suitable lodging, the irritation of traveling commercial while NBA teams flew charter, and the necessity of playing in dangerous countries in order to earn a living income. Everything had been intensifying to the brink. That milestone was attained at the 2025 All-Star Game. In a spectacular and well-planned display of disobedience, all of the players entered the court donning black t-shirts bearing the scathing words, "Pay us what you owe us." The quiet demonstration was deafening. The crowd, sensing the players' cue, started chanting, "Pay them," as the commissioner attempted to deliver awards. Give them money. It was an entirely spontaneous act of disobedience.
Essentially stalled for a new collective bargaining agreement in the WNBA. For the first time ever, WNBA players think they have leverage. Key word, think. Now, in their defense, they do have leverage in the short term. The problem is, if this short-term leverage is used and the 2026 WNBA season is canceled, it could have devastating long-term impacts on pretend basketball.
The players' demands for a future they feel they deserve were tabled when they formally opted out of their collective bargaining agreement. They want each team to have a salary cap of $45 million and to allow top players to get $1 million contracts. This is the heartbreaking kicker, though. They are imposing these demands on a league that apparently lost an incredible $40 million during its most prosperous and well-publicized season ever. It was a last-ditch appeal for dignity from within a house that was in financial ruin.
I'm wondering, will the WNBA get within $10 million this season? I kind of doubt it, considering Caitlin Clark's missed, 13, 14 games or something like that? We saw ticket prices plummeted. We know the ratings have gone down in games that she's not involved with, which has drove the ratings down across the league. So I don't know.
A new force appeared just as the WNBA's foundation was beginning to crumble due to its own faulty economics. Unrivaled, an off-season project, began as a rumor among players. It has now grown into an overwhelming roar. Unrivaled did something the WNBA hasn't done in 28 years in its inaugural season. Financially, it was remarkably near to breaking even. Unrivaled is demonstrating that women's basketball can be a lean, contemporary, and lucrative industry, even while the WNBA still depends on hundreds of millions of dollars in NBA subsidies.
In the All-Star game, wearing "Pay Us What You Owe Us" t-shirts, WNBA players whose salaries are subsidized by the NBA wear t-shirts declaring "Pay us what you owe us." They must have thought this was a great idea. Oh, folks, we're really going to stick it to the owners. We are really going to stick it to the league. We're going to walk out in solidarity with a t-shirt that says "Pay us what you owe us," and then they'll have no choice but to pay us what they owe us. Now, my question is, what exactly?
Additionally, they are doing it while giving their players enormous sums of money. The average unmatched salary for 8 weeks of 3-on-3 basketball was $220,000, which is almost 3 times the typical WNBA player's wage for a full, demanding season. It's nearly impossible to trust the numbers. For example, Angel Ree received a $50,000 incentive for winning the championship, which is more than 2/3 of her whole WNBA rookie contract. However, that wasn't even the most startling statistic. Paige Buicker's first year with Unrivaled is expected to bring in about $350,000. A salary more than the sum of her 4-year rookie contract with the WNBA. Give that some thought. In the WNBA, a player can earn more than 4 years of hard labor for 10 weeks in a fast-paced, enjoyable environment. The financial gap is a chasm rather than merely a gap.
Is that Paige Buicker's 10-week commitment to Unrivaled? 10-week commitment, 10 weeks to Unrivaled. She will make more in that first year than she will in the WNBA, where she's only projected to make $78,000. And I know there's still some haters, some unbelievers mad that women decided to bet on themselves, make this startup that is already putting the foot on the gas, right? Already making the WNBA look bad. I understand that. And they're wondering how they're paying for it. Well, Unrivaled made $1 million in ticket sales this year. Unrivaled made over $1 million in merchandise sales this year. And that's not even counting like the jerseys.
However, the founders of Unrivaled recognized that respect is more than simply the paycheck, something that the WNBA, with its corporate top-down structure, never did. It's about establishing a culture that views athletes as important resources rather than merely workers. Unmatched extended a warm welcome and provided a degree of attention to detail that is just not seen in the WNBA. Players no longer had to worry about obtaining temporary lodging because they were provided with fully furnished luxury flats in desirable areas. TO managed their diet and make sure they were fed for optimal performance. They were assigned personal cooks.
Alex Brazell, the co-founder of the 3-on-3 Women's Basketball League, composed of exclusively WNBA players, told Front Office Sports that the league has signed nearly 90% of its player pool for the 2026 season. Quote, "We have a few spots left, open the field, and then we're pretty much ready to go."
They provided full child care services, a game-changing perk that recognizes the realities of being a female professional athlete, to the league's numerous mothers. Additionally, they had access to cutting-edge recuperation facilities and, in a move that demonstrates an extraordinary level of attention to detail, a glamorous room sponsored by Sephora for media appearances. This was a calculated investment, rather than merely a benefit. Unrivaled's players were able to concentrate entirely on basketball by eliminating the distractions off the court, which produced a better, more thrilling on-court product. This stands in sharp contrast to the WNBA, where players had to voice their displeasure in public for decades before the league reluctantly agreed to allow charter flights. Unrivaled offered respect and a sincere collaboration in addition to more money.
I've been telling y'all this. The league doesn't like Unrivaled. I'm tired of going back and forth with people that's no business would want you to work for them and then basically replicate their business and try to make it better and all that type of stuff. No business does that. So it baffles my mind how a lot of y'all sit back and think, oh, the WNBA loves Unrivaled. No, they don't.
At this point, the narrative takes a very tragic turn, displaying utter ineptitude. The WNBA was busy permitting its veterans to undermine its own golden goose while Unrivaled was creating a player's paradise. The league chose to ignore Caitlin Clark's attacks rather than extending a warm welcome to her and safeguarding its most valuable asset. She took cheap shots on the court, like as Kennedy Carter's now famous hip check, while other players who appeared openly resentful of her notoriety disparaged her in the media.
It continues to show that this league is where people want to be because they treat them right. They're providing the resources for them. They're promoting them the way they should be promoted. And that's what women's basketball players deserve. That's what women deserve. A lot of you may be wondering, well, why can Unrivaled do it and why can't the WNBA do it? The WNBA can do it, but you need to understand can and will and choose to are all different.
She was viewed as an intruder who didn't deserve the attention she was bringing to their league, rather than as a rescuer who was saving everyone. It was a massive case of organizational misconduct. The old guard in the league appeared to be attempting to intimidate the individual who was increasing their salaries. When they were given a winning lottery ticket, they allowed their fellow players to try to destroy it rather than cashing it in the WNBA. The message to Clark and the rest of the globe was unmistakable. Success across generations should be seen with distrust and animosity rather than with joy. A disastrous leadership blunder left the league appearing petty, inhospitable, and disorganized. There will not be a revolution. Every young player is being shown that they no longer have to settle for crumbs because it is already here and being broadcast on TNT. The entire D*MN bakery is theirs. The WNBA's ability to withstand a threat that it created for itself is now the question, not if it will face competition.